Hello everyone, I'm Amya from the University of Delhi, and before I start with my presentation, I would like to thank the Women in War group who have taken this great initiative to locate the place of women in war in the last 100 years. Although we are all aware that in the last 100 years there has been a drastic change in the global political situation, and now wars are being replaced by civil wars, ethnic conflicts and new wars. However, these wars and conflicts have always had an immense impact on the lives of women. Also, we are aware that in the past few decades, there has been a plethora of feminist literature which has come about to make visible the need, the roles and the experiences of women in conflict situations. But even in the feminist literature, there are a lot of divisions and debates regarding how to understand the role of women in conflict situations. And in the same light, my paper argues against one of the strands of feminism which holds an essentialist position through my case study of Mera Paibis group, which is a women's group in Manipur, which is a small state in the northeastern region of India. It becomes imperative to understand what is this essentialist position that the feminists hold. The essentialist feminism contends that there is a fundamental difference between a man and a woman. So a man will always be aggressive and a woman will always be peaceful because of their inherent natures is what they believe. They also believe that if women have to occupy political positions of power, they will always be beneficial to the society, not because of their contributions, but because they have a nurturing and a cooperative behavior. This paper challenges such an essentialist understanding of women's agency because when there is a serious analysis of feminism, when there is a serious analysis of the women's role in conflict situations, it makes it very clear that women aren't inherently peaceful. They are not anti-authoritarian. In fact, if they wish to, they can very well resort to violence. For instance, in one of the reports published by the North East Network with UNIFEM, in South Asia, around 50% of the militant LTTE cadres were women. In Maoist insurgency in Nepal, nearly a third of the fighting ranks are occupied by women. And also in Nagaland, the most dominating militant group, which is NSCN, also holds a significant part of its fighting force as women. So we can see that in the above instances, women have not taken up non-violent means and peace just because they are inherently peaceful, but because they have been victimized by violence for a very long time. They have chosen peace as a way in conflict. This argument can be substantiated by the case study of Mera Paibis, who are, according to this paper, agents of peace by choice and not because they are inherently peaceful. Now, Manipur is a small state in the northeastern region of India. In 1949, when the government of India had taken over Manipur, there was a widespread discontent among the local people of Manipur. And in 1958, when the government of India had extended the Armed Forces Special Powers Act to Manipur, it led to a lot of insurgency and insurgent groups came about in 1960s. And ever since that, Manipur has become a conflict-ridden state. Now, in order to understand the role of Mera Paibis in Manipur, in the conflict situation of Manipur, it is essential to understand the historical factors that have strengthened their agency. These factors, firstly cultural factors, which are various myths and legends of women with exemplary qualities, have always given an important status to women in the Manipuri society, and also the local people have worshipped female goddesses for a very long time. Also, in the political history of the state, women are known to have waged wars for their kingdom. For instance, a queen who had dressed up as a king and her female maids were dressed up as soldiers had defeated attackers in a battle. Also, socio-political traditions like the Pacha Loishang, which is a women's court in the kingdom, had given right to the women a right to appeal, and this appeal had to be taken seriously by the king. So all these factors put together had strengthened the Manipuri women's involvement in public sphere, and their coming onto the informal politics and staging protests became very easy because of such a historical background. Also, the Lalup system in Manipur, where it was mandatory for every able-bodied male from the age bracket of 17 to 60 years had to attend the services of the palace 10 days in a block period of 40 days. So this absence of men also gave the opportunity for women to get involved in the informal politics, Also, because of this absence, they had to shoulder the social responsibility of the household. And this absence of men also opened up the trade and economic spaces for women, which were normally dominated by men. So all these historical factors, and also another historical development such as the war with Burma, which had led to the depopulation of the males in the valley, had also accorded a unique position to women in the public sphere. Apart from these historical factors, there is one very important factor that has also that can be seen as giving an exceptional role to women in peacemaking, which is their economic independence. There are these markets called Kethals, which are run only by women till date, and these markets, apart from being a symbol of economic independence, they are also important platform for the women to help them organize themselves as a group, and also mobilize protests and other forms of direct action against any injustice in the society. Now we'll talk about the genesis of Mera Paibis as a Nishabandi group. So Mera Paibis did not evolve as Mera Paibis group that we know today. It emerged later on. First it was known as the Nishabandi group. This group was formed and was primarily involved in protests against the alcoholism in the society, which was a result of the dissatisfaction and unemployment of the Manipuri youth. The women members of this group used to walk late at the night hours, carrying torches or lanterns, catching drunken persons, imposing fine on them. They also raided liquor vents and set fire to alcohol supplies. And because they moved at night carrying flaming torches, normal people started calling them Mera Paibis. Mera Paibis, the English translation of Mera Paibis is women who carry flaming torches. In April 1976, they had also passed a resolution demanding a state-side ban on liquor and drugs. Also, this group formed a state-level organization called the All Manipur Women's Social Reformation and Development Samaj. In 1980, all Manipur Bandh, or a curfew, was organized to push a ban on liquor and drugs. So apart from tackling drug addiction and alcoholism, the movement also raised issues of price rise, dowry demands, and so on. Now later on in the 1980s, when the insurgency and the counter-insurgency measures were intensified in Manipur, the Nishabandi group were initially in favor of the arrest of the insurgents by security personnel, but later on they realized that the army was misusing the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and a lot of innocents were getting killed because of this special power. So from 1980 onwards, they started taking up the issues related to militarization and the human rights violation resulting from it. And at this point, they gave up the term Nishabandi and began to identify themselves as the Mera Paibis. Now talking about their ideology, Mera Paibis is basically a woman who's carrying a flaming torch. Now this flaming torch is a symbol for their dignity and moral strength and inspiration necessary to protect themselves and others in the face of their adversaries. It is also a reminder for them of the sacred oath they take to fight injustice. However, at the same time, there are a lot of scholars that argue that Mera Paibis as a women's organization is not just a movement for human rights violation, and it cannot be seen in isolation from the Manipuri nationalist ideology, and also it cannot be disassociated from the non-state armed groups. Talking about the structure of the Mera Paibis organization, the Mera Paibis organization consists of mostly married women within the age group of 30 and 65 years. So a Mera Paibis activist need not be a full-time activist. She could be a volunteer either in the morning or night, and also carry on her daily activities and daily regular household work. As one of the scholars in Manipur aptly puts it, every woman is a potential Mera Paibi, although she may not be a full-time activist who dedicates her whole time to the movement. At the local level, each locality has a Mera Paibi unit, and they usually assemble in the huts called shanglin. They provide vigilance regularly at night or at times of emergency. Also, especially they warn the localities against combing operations, arbitrary arrests, torturing and sexual harassment by the security personnel. They warn people of any emergency by banging electric posts and also beating a gong. and they have these different rhythm of sounds conveying different messages through the banging of gongs, and they also follow different ways of peaceful resistance, like they stage periodical torch marches during the night. Also, the local units are grouped under regional bodies or are directly affiliated to the Apex Mera Paibi organization operating at the state level. These in turn have state level meetings, discussions, protests, rallies, strikes, and agitations against human rights violations. Now, looking at their well structured organization, we can say that Mera Paibis is a very well structured group. And they have developed a very systematic mechanism of fighting injustice in the society and bringing about peace in their conflict-ridden state. Now, talking about the recent contributions that the Mera Paibis group have made involve more humanitarian causes with regard to issues relating to human rights violation which have resulted because of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. This act gives special powers to the Indian Army to kill any person merely on the basis of suspicion, and because of the misuse of this act, there have been a lot of innocent civilians who have been killed. Now, Irom Sharmila, who is a Mera Paibi, is on an indefinite fast for the last 10 years or more for the repeal of this act. Her peaceful resistance and her struggle continues with 2 plastic tubes in her nose facilitating her feeding, something that was imposed by the state. The entire Mera Paibi organization has expressed their solidarity with Irom Sharmila, and they look at her as a symbol of their fighting for justice. Now, Mera Paibi today are the only section of the Manipuri society who have constant access to some of the moral authority over the insurgent groups. And they have been constantly involved in a dialogue with these insurgent groups. And they have even asked them to reduce the violence resulting from their intergroup rivalries. Even the government recognizes the importance of the Mera Paibis, and they have also sought help from them from time to time. Even the armed forces have recently begun to recognize the Mera Paibis' immense potential for conflict resolution. Now, looking at the Mera Paibis, one can say that this experience of an extraordinary struggle by a small group of women in a small state of Manipur has defied the maternal standpoint and also the essentialist position which holds that women need to be inherently peaceful to be doing non-violent deeds. This study or this extraordinary struggle shows that women are not inherently peaceful. They have also had a historical background where there is ample evidence to show that women have even gone to the battlefields and fought wars as soldiers in order to save their kingdoms. And also in today's date, women have chosen to join the non-state armed groups to seek justice. So there are a lot of instances which show that women are not inherently peaceful and they have resorted to violence. But the extraordinary struggle of the women in Manipur show that they have consciously chosen to work for peace in their society. They have consciously made a choice to end violence in their society because they feel that they have been victimized by violence for too long, and also that violence cannot end with violent measures but only by resorting to non-violent means. Also, from this standpoint, the image of the women as a mother, which considers women as natural harbingers of peace, embodying pain and suffering, has been transcended by these women in Manipur, as they have chosen to go beyond their victimhood and have become agents of peacemaking in their state. Apart from defying the essentialist position and apart from defying the maternal standpoint, the case of the extraordinary struggle by the women in Manipur also defies the realist imagery of the women being portrayed as victims in armed conflicts and other conflict situations. These women and their struggle is really extraordinary, and it's an extraordinary example for the rest of the world to follow, because informally, if women can organize themselves and choose to fight for peace in their state through non-violent means, it means that even in the rest of the world, women can informally organize themselves and fight for peace. Also, the fact that their struggle is recognized by all the factors in the all the key actors in the conflict, such as the state, such as the armed non-state armed groups and the army. All these key actors in the conflict have recognized the role of Mera Paibis, and they recognize the importance of Mera Paibis in conflict resolution. This gives a hope that a proper organized and a well-structured peace movement led by women can successfully make its place in any conflict situation, and also put an end to the injustice and human rights violation happening in any conflict situation. Thank you very much.